Here we are in beautiful downtown, well, sort of downtown, Georgia, Vermont. And I'm with Carol Ann Jones, singer-songwriter, farmer, dairy farmer, which leads me to my very first question. In our early conversation, Carol, you had indicated to me that you sing to your cows.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I used to sing to the cows, although I really don't milk them much anymore. But they're more productive when you sing to them, without a doubt.
Okay.
They go into their happy place. And
Do they sway and everything? I mean, do they, the tail?
depends on the cow.
Oh.
You always have to watch out to be kicked, so I can't play a song they're not going to like.
Ooh. Ooh. So, why Georgia, Vermont? Why here? Why now?
Well, we really just kind of lucked out with Georgia, Vermont. We were both from Burlington and talked about our dream property with a friend, and the friend's realtor overheard this and called us a couple years later and said, I think I found the property you've described. And my husband used to be an engineer on the railroad, and he had seen these fields over the years and just thought, I'd love to have, a farm like that someday. So who would have thunk that the city girl would ever become a dairy farmer, but that's what happened.
And not only that, but I think apple trees you have too, and a little garden.
Yep.
And delicious chili, I might want to add. Carol Ann, that's another thing that she needs to add to her resume, that there is delicious chili in the pot.
Yes.
So
Farm fresh beef.
you had mentioned that you were an accountant. I liked hearing that trajectory because I can relate to it. And many of the people that we have selected to be a part of our little adventure are people that have a similar type of an attitude that you had. Why don't you tell us about that accountant music, so to speak?
Well, accounting is, it definitely pays the bills. I went to school for accounting. I did accounting before I became an accountant. I just didn't understand what I was doing. I could just do the daily grind and, accounts payable or accounts receivable. So I went to college, got my degree, and became an accountant. And it's just so intangible. You can't really touch it. You go home with numbers in your head, and they don't mean a thing to you personally. They're numbers. And kind of like putting a big puzzle together every day. But it's always the same picture, little black and white numbers. And so my husband had started this dairy farm, and we had an agreement, and I wasn't going to milk cows. And I was happy to do the books for him, but this was his dream. And it just hit me one day like, I would rather milk a cow than count somebody else's money right now. I want to do something tangible.
No, I hear you.
Boy, it doesn't get more tangible than shoveling manure and milking cows.
Well, the crew got their first experience of Vermont cow aroma. They were spreading on the fields. It got really interesting on the way up here.
Yeah, it varies in tone and mellowness. Our
Like fine
cows are
tobacco.
grass-fed organic, and it doesn't really smell bad. But you get to someone who's feeding silage, and just everything's fermented, and then they spray the liquid manure, and it's nasty.
So let me ask you, what kind of things do you want to do on this farm more than you're doing now? What are some of the long-range plans for Carol Ann, the farmer?
Well, Carol Ann the farmer is in the back seat now. I'm not driving the farm wagon anymore.
What about Carol Ann the passenger? What does she see for the farm?
A farmer would hope that their children will want to take on the farm. That's been the Vermont tradition, but there really isn't too much of a future for small family farms. They're getting taken over by bigger farms. But organic farms are productive, and they are in the black, and so, our farm is productive, and we're doing well. But I don't think that's where my son's interests are, so I think we'll just hang on until my husband wants to retire. And then I'd like to see that we're still producing hay and beef, but the dairy end is high labor and pretty intense.
So when you say organic, why don't you paint the little picture for people who might not know what organic means? Because you see all these little things, 100% real, whatever is that, I see all these types of marketing ploys.
And you wonder what's real.
What is real? But organic has, yes, please.
Yeah, a certified organic farm in Vermont, and I think, they're all governed by rules in Vermont. It's set by the Northeast, NOFA, Northeast Organic Farmers Association. And they inspect us every year. We're also inspected by the state on a random, you never know when they're going to show up basis. You feed only organic grain that's coming from organic fields that aren't sprayed with pesticides or, fake enhancers or steroids or whatever. Your cows are clean. The cows are treated with herbal remedies, and there are some allowed products, some products aren't allowed. A big thing is fly control. A big thing is rotating your cows through the fields and making sure they have the best hay every day, access to water. It's really common sense, but it boils down a lot to you don't give your cows antibiotics. If a cow becomes sick to the point that it needs antibiotics, we'd ship it off the farm, get it the care it needs, and it can go live on somebody else's farm, but we follow the rules really strictly.
And I think I heard you say something about UVM extension or some type of a connection that you have with UVM.
Well, UVM Extension Service is always offering classes on crop management and cow management and anything from apples to maple syrup. So they're a great resource for people.
How sympathetic, compassionate is the state regarding organic farmers?
The politicians are really working hard to try to keep farms. It's kind of like what people think of when they think of Vermont. They think of skiing and dairy farms, I think.
Right.
So they do have a program for the traditional farmers. If the price of milk goes below a certain amount, there is a supplement that kicks in and they get a little money from the state.
And your kinds of cows are?
We milk Ayrshires and Jerseys.
Okay.
Some people say Ashers.
Okay.
Ashers
Okay.
or Ayrshires. The red and white ones. And Jerseys are the brown ones. They're very sassy.
Do you ever write about your farm?
A few times. I wrote a song called The Farmhouse Blues that's on my album Out of the Blue. And that's more like me sitting at home pining for Mark to come home because I got the farmhouse blues. Then I wrote a song called Going to Hell with My Handbag, which
has done very well, but we'll talk more about that later when we do the music thing, because I know that it's done very well on
that's a farm song.
few internet services, namely Broadgem.
Yeah.
Tell me, when did this music thing happen for you? When did you decide you wanted to do that?
Well, I think the solo thing happened, actually, I was at Ciao Bella in St. Albans. I was having dinner, and there was a jazz band there playing. And they were playing a song that I knew. And I got up and I said, I know that song. And they didn't have a singer. I said, can I sing it with you? And they're like, sure. So they just moved a mic over, and I sang the song. I can't remember now what it was. I think G Baby Ain't I Good to You. And I had so much fun. I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. Well, they invited me to come back and sing another show with them. So I sang another show with them, and they handed me a check. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can get paid to do what I love. And that was a realization.
How old were you then?
40.
Wow. No, I can relate.
So I'd been singing in choirs and choruses and barbershop, and I've been singing all my life, but really that was when I would thought.
Not yet.
Not yet what?
You haven't been singing all your life.
No, it's
yet.
not over yet.
That's right.
All of my life to date.
To date, okay.
So then my husband had the great idea, get a guitar, learn how to play it, and then you'll bring more to the table. You have more to offer. You're more marketable. And so I bought a guitar, a little Washburn down at, I think I got it at Advanced Music in Burlington. And sure enough, kind of figured it out. A couple friends taught me a couple of chords, and I was playing Bye Bye Love by the end of a couple days. And then soon after that, I started writing songs. I had been writing poems through my life, but I'd never written a song. So my first song was Out of the Blue that I wrote for my mother, and I loved to play it. And went to a couple open mics. That went well. Met a guitar teacher, Andre McCara, and was giving my son guitar lessons, and he has a studio. So I'm sitting there during the guitar lesson looking at the studio, and I said to Andre, someday I'd love to record my songs. I've been writing songs. And he said, why not now? Okay. I said, I don't know how I'm going to pay you. He's like, oh, we'll work that out. Just let's get it down. So we started recording, and by the end of a year, we had the whole album done, Out of the Blue. And we got ready for the CD release party, and the players on the album, we got together, and they're like, yeah, we want to play your music. And so we've been together since then. It's been about, I guess it's been 3.5 years we've been playing together. And still writing new songs and playing new songs. We have our third album in the works now. So that'll be great. I can't wait.
Well, one of the things that I know impressed me when I met you, because I met you through some pretty sad circumstances. A mutual friend of ours asked me if I would come play for a benefit for someone who was struggling with health issues. And I met you there, and I believe, well, Will Patton, who is also one of our little artists from this adventure of ours. And that was really, I was impressed by that, because I saw the caringness, I saw the true compassion, I saw the genuine integrity of that whole moment, and how you brought that together, and people were very responsive, and I thought that was cool, because one of the things that we're doing with our project is exactly showing that people around the country are people, good people. Mm-hmm. You know, we're just not, the Jersey Shore is an anomaly, and it's just an absolute commercial gimmick to create some type of angst where real people don't behave like that. Mm-hmm. And a perfect example of, here we are on your farm, unbelievable weather, a little hot maybe, but the fact is that we're here because of music and because of the kind things that you've done, which has stuck out in my mind, and the kind things that you're doing right now, the people that you've connected our particular adventure with, as well as what we're going to be doing later. It's very cool. And I think that music, from that perspective, is extraordinarily powerful, and you do bring a very strong presence to that. So let me ask you, who are some of your influences?
Well, when I was a kid, I loved to listen to Queen and Heart and rock and roll, AC/DC, all kinds of rock and roll, and some Canadian bands, Rush and Triumph. And then when I got out of school and I started studying voice, I was taking private lessons. My husband would barter auto body work for private lessons. That worked out well.
Wow.
And then I started to study like Bonnie Raitt music and songs like that. Eva Cassidy is a recent influence, although she's passed on. Paula Cole is one of my favorite singers. Mm-hmm. Such a great vocalist. And lots of different styles. I love Lucinda Williams and Brandi Carlile. Mm-hmm.
So you have CDs, and I know as a fact that one of those particular songs on one of those particular CDs, which is the
Out of the Blue CD?
Out of the Blue CD, and the name of the song is about handbags.
Yeah, Going to Hell with My Handbag.
What about Going to Hell with a Handbag? I know it's done well because I followed it.
Yeah, it's a good song.
As a matter of fact, I believe you bumped me off #1 in the state of Vermont once with it.
Oh, maybe.
But I still like you.
Thanks. You never know how that's going to go.
But tell me about that. Tell me about the song.
That was a phone call at 6 a.m. We had a milker working at the barn, and called and said, "Mr. Jones, I'm so sorry. I just backed the tractor into the car that was parked in the yard, and I broke the tractor, and I dented the car." And my husband said, "Oh my God, today's gone to hell in a handbag, and I'm going back to bed." And I was getting breakfast for the kids, and I thought, I got to write a song about handbags. Going to hell with my handbag. So I sat down on Google, and I typed in handbag, and Prada and Coach and Gucci, and these handbags come up, and I got names. I'm like, okay, I've got the lyrics. Sure. So I had that song done by the end of the day, and I played it, and it was fun. It's a fun song. It kind of turned the day around. And so that gets played regularly on the local radio stations. And then another song I wrote, All About the Wheels. That's the opening song on the album Out of the Blue. That song I wrote as a story of my husband and I, and how we met, about wheels, all about wheels, in his 57 Chevy, and our whole relationship has been about cars since. Wow. Cars, music, gas, guns, guitars, right? And
it's Vermont.
Yeah. And that song was on NPR. It got on Click and Clack's show. Uh-huh. Yeah, so that's kind of neat.
Well, I know you're busy promoting, because you're a promoting maniac.
I do. You have to. If you don't promote yourself and you're a self-employed musician, then you're not going to go anywhere.
What would you say to a musician that's getting started? How would you look at your career, the things that you've learned? What would you want to disseminate informationally to young people? When I say young people, people with a passion for their music, because I'm not young. You're young. I have a passion for music.
Thank you, Robert.
The bottom line is, what would you tell the young people that are passionate about what they're doing?
My epiphany in music came when I realized it's not about me. It's about the people that I'm singing for. Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen until I was singing at the Jazz Festival one year in a choral setting. And I had a solo. I was scared to death for this solo. My hands were just shaking like crazy. And so nervous. Well, the piano player started to play, and he was so relaxed. And he's looking out to the audience, and the audience is just grooving with him. So I get up to the microphone to sing my solo, which was the whole song. And I look out at the audience, and they're already in the groove. And so I got in the groove with them, and they started singing the song right with me. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what it's about.
Sure.
Doesn't matter what I sound like. They're having a blast, you
That's
know?
right. Yep.
And so I wasn't nervous from that day on. I don't really get nervous before a show. So I think to get across to a musician who's just starting out is that it's what you're going to project and what you're going to get back is going to be so special. So really, don't be nervous. Just give. You can't go wrong.
Okay. Well, I'm here with Carol Ann Jones. Tell them what your website is, by all means.
Sure. www.carolanjonesmusic.com. And then on CD Baby, you can find the CDs. That's www.cdbaby.com. You can find your CDs
Carol Ann
there
Jones.
too, I'm sure.
That's right.
And, you know, just call your local radio station and say, please play Carol Ann Jones' music.
We will do that.
We're on Spotify and Broadjam and anywhere you can find music, it's out there. Amazon.
Well, I'm with Carol Ann Jones, singer-songwriter, dairy farmer. Do we have anything else we want to add?
Accountant.
An
Town
accountant,
auditor.
exactly. Burning accountant, but soon to be counting a lot of her own money. So, once again, Robert Wanyu, thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.